Alright. So everybody, I'm doing a review of Infinity War. My review of it. Pretty simple, huh? I'll start off with what I can about this one. Read a great article. And there was one point of Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War, that really hit. The flawed realization. The unconsummated realization against the ephemeral realization. The unconsummated one wasn't in the film. But the unconsummated one is like what you think is going to happen. Although it is in the film, I don't want to bring it up because Thanos is my main concern in the storyline. So, what I want to bring up is the ephemeral realization. But there is also there is the other one in as well. Let's start with the first quote we hear in the film from Thanos himself. "I know what it's like to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail nonetheless. It's frightening, turns the lakes to jelly. But I ask you, to what end? Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here, or should I say, I am." The idea of Thanos saying that is already taken back a few moments later with Loki. When Loki says that I can provide a way and assistance on Earth. But all Thanos says to him is that failure is an experience. But for someone that just said, I know what it's like to lose, there's a question mark at the end of that. How can you know what it's like to lose if you're telling somebody who's failed before that that experience doesn't count? You just contradicted a big statement you made in the first line of the movie. Of yours. That is the unconsummated realization. That shows that he has not experienced failure. Or maybe he doesn't see it. He needs corrective lenses. I don't know. But that's an important point to make about this flawed realization that Thanos has. He's not carrying the weight of his conversations in what he's doing. His word is not his integrity with everyone he meets, including the people he's sharing it with. That information is all there. It's stored up. It's energy in the room. Somehow they don't agree with each other at a certain point because of that knowing what it's like to lose. You can't really take that back at that point. So the unconsummated realization is what he says to Loki after Loki says, I consider experience, not failure. Failure isn't the only experience. Failure is a big part of experience, but it's not the only part of experience. And the biggest thing about failure is that, are you going to keep going or not? While the ephemeral realization is when you have so much experience that you're basing everything off of the experiences you've had. That makes little sense too, because the next experience is not the same one. Thanos is living in that reality. What has happened already is going to tell the trajectory. His home planet of Titan, or is it called Titan? I don't know. He's a Titan, so I'm guessing that the planet is Titan. But just that in and of itself already shows how much he's changed as a human. Excuse me for one moment. I think I forgot my other workload of paper. Here we are. Back to the second part of this, since we're talking about flawed realization. When he talked with Dr.Strange, when he came in from the portal, and he talked about the planet, it was beautiful. Titan was like most planets. Too many mouths, not enough to go around. And when we faced extinction, I offered a solution. Dr. Strange says genocide. But random, dispassionate, fair to rich and poor alike. They called me a madman. And what I predicted came to pass. Congratulations, you're a prophet. I'm a survivor. Strongest actions take sometimes the strongest wills. Sometimes take the strongest wills. I don't know if it says sometimes, but he does say about something about the strongest will. Prophet survivor. It's interesting in the second part because he based his whole attempt on what he's doing on what happened to his home planet. There's a whole universe. And it's unpredictable. So for him to base every society, every reality in the universe as what happened to Titan is again a flawed realization based on his inferior realizations on his own life, in his own lifetime, in his own experiences. What I've noticed is that even for myself, there's a lot of things I haven't experienced in life, and I'm going to admit to that, that's fine. What I've noticed is, even in my unconsummated realizations, there's obviously realizations that I do have. More based on myself personally and preference, I guess you could say. But I do think that I've gotten past the idea of having to divide and conquer, win or lose, compete. I just ask God who I have an interest in. I just ask people preferentially who want to know me better, things like that. That's how I get to know people. If they are going to go along for the ride, they will. If they don't, they don't. I think Infinity War just taught me more about that. And taught me more how wrong either side can go. Literally. There isn't a wrong or right in that situation because you're still making a realization about it. You're still making a decision. Even if it's based on assumption or based on reality or based on what you've experienced before or not experienced before, you obviously are making an action in that, a decision. I am too. You know? I think the thing is, we're holding bounds on people in any situation, whether we're experienced or whether we're unconsummated in the whole thing. We're still, in a way, holding bounds on others. And that's the one thing that I've learned, that it's my personal bound. It's not yours. You know? I'm a person who's building towards a lasting relationship, but I understand that if nobody else is, then they're not. Then I guess there's nobody interested in those kind of things. And if they're hiding it that restrictively, then they're basing it on their inferior realizations too. While I'm unconsummated in those realizations. And that's good. Because I'm willingly talking about it. That means I'm not completely restrictive about the idea of having them. It does mean that there's going to be problems and flaws and integration problems, realizations that may not come to pass, but if that's a problem, I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't say I'm building towards a lasting relationship unless I really meant it. My word is my integrity on that shit. Unlike Thanos here, whose word is not his integrity, because when somebody else fails, it doesn't count as experience. But when he fails, I know what it's like to lose, remember? So when he fails, he learns something. Everyone else, if they fail, they don't learn nothing. So, my idea of Infinity War kind of comes from all that. Flawed realizations. That's why to me it ended the way it ended. Taking off the gauntlet now. But I know what the gauntlet does and I know its power. So, I hope you enjoyed this thought on Infinity War.